Hey guys, it's Jenna. In today's video, we're going to be doing a eyeshadow palette ranking, which I'm so excited about. These are the most recent eyeshadow palettes that I have been testing in the last few months or so. There's about 8 of them here that I'm really excited to share with you guys my thoughts and kind of rank them based on how I've been enjoying them from the worst all the way to the best. So let's get started. Now, this is one that kind of disappointed me, I'll be honest. I was kind of expecting much better things from this brand, as well as palettes like this, but this is basically speaking to the textures in this palette. There's a lot of very flaky shadows in this one, and there's just not a ton going on for super creativity in this palette. So unfortunately, in last place, we have Better Than Chocolate by Too Faced. This is... Honestly, okay, the outer packaging is really beautiful. The tin kind of like packaging that we have here is really, really stunning. The mattes in here are consistent and they're very blendable. They're very easy to work with. Definitely the Too Faced formulation that I'm used to. The mattes in here make this palette actually worth something. So that's what I really like about this. But the shimmers are unfortunately what got me a little bit disappointed. A lot of these are incredibly flaky and a lot of them have much more overspray glitter versus pigment underneath it. So they're not super rich pigmented shimmers, they just tend to be a lot of toppers with a lot of mess going on. Purple shade here is actually quite opaque in pan, but it's very, very light, almost like a light purple highlight. It's very, very disappointing. The blue is also quite light. So I'm going to show you, of course, the swatches with everything. They're lighter than I expected. And I'm not sure what Too Faced was kind of wanting us to do with these two. You can see how light they are. That opacity is very, very light. And if you put that over one of the chocolate browns, it just kind of looks muddy. It doesn't really look like anything very nice. So when I was trying to work with these shadows, I found the only way to really make these work was to put it over the lightest matte in here, which is Buttercream. So right there, you can see that's the lightest matte. Putting that with some of these was okay, but there wasn't that really rich color that I was kind of hoping for along with that shimmer. They're very, very weak. There's also a shade in here called Milk It, which is right at the top, and that is also one that's a little bit disappointing. It is actually not as opaquely white as I was expecting. It's really got that flaky shimmer quality that's very light, so it gives a little bit of a light dusting, but it's almost like there's no white there when you actually apply it. So my point with this palette is the mattes are super strong, but some of these shimmers are just falling short for me. Not quite to Too Faced quality that I'm used to. Normally their shimmers are a little bit more opaque, but I think they started some different formulations in here to kind of get more of that shimmer, more flakiness, but really it ends up being a mess and it's not the color payoff that I was hoping for. So this unfortunately is palette number 8. Now let's talk about the next one. The next one is from Tarte. This is the Sea Breezy palette. This is number 7. I really like how these pans are XL. They are very large. I love that. So if you do love these colors, you're going to love it because you get a lot of it in this pan. There's 4 shimmers in here and 2 mattes basically. The mattes are on the teeny dry side compared to what Tarte can do. Tarte has powdery mattes, I would say, but something is missing there. They're a little bit too powdery and have a little bit more of a stiffness than what I'm used to from Tarte. That being said, this palette to me sort of lacks uniqueness. It's definitely something that they do a ton. So if you have even one other Tarte palette, you'll probably have very similar shades already. It's kind of one of those redundant type things, but if you really love this brand and these are the shades that you use, it's nice to also have XL sizes of the shades that you love, right? So I would say this palette, being in number 7, doesn't mean it's a total wash. I do think it's meant for those that really love those basic shades, and if those are the shades you like, you'll love it because it is pretty consistent for a Tarte palette. But like I said, those mattes are a little bit just like a smidgen drier than what I'm used to. It doesn't mean you can't work with them. Coming in at number 6. Okay, number 6. Is this palette you guys are gonna love. Gucci's new one. Now this is funny, I did pick up the first Gucci palette and this is their second now. First of all, the packaging, you guys, it's stunning. It's beautiful. This looks like a piece of art you would put on a vanity. It's like breathtaking. Like, I love it. I love the florals. I think it's gorgeous. It's very luxurious, heavy in the hand packaging with like the gold trim along the rim. Like, it's luxury, right? These are the shades in this one. It's kind of like a cool tone palette. We do have some pops of blue in here. Now, in my last video, you guys loved the blue that I put together from this palette. So the 3 blues I used were in this one, right? We have this one, and this one, kind of in the little... You guys... Okay. That scared the bejesus out of me. Holy Dinah. I thought I was going to wear pigment all down my dress. I wonder if the camera caught that. Wow. Okay. Let's keep going, I guess. Oh, fingers crossed nothing else happens. This is, I would say, a little bit better than the first one, but not by much. And that's why we are in palette number 6 for the countdown. This whole Gucci eyeshadow experience is really meant to have softer hues. This is not meant to have pigment forward, very rich, color heavy, you know, pops on the lid. This is meant for softer hues to sort of bring out your own beauty. Very, very light. I think the opacity that's literally at the fullest that you can do is about medium. So it is that type of experience with this type of palette. I love that they've got some really beautiful kind of cool tones in this one that we all use every day. The browns, the pinks, we do have a cool like purpley gray color there. The blues are a nice touch because they do add a pop of color. And I was really impressed with the blues when I was working with them. But I will say that I had to build them up quite a bit to get the look that I created with it. This is good. We're not getting to the great yet, but this is good. A little bit of a step up from their first palette. If you're looking for something that's very richly pigmented on a first swatch, this isn't it. You're gonna have to build a little bit, get that medium opacity, and really embrace a softer eyeshadow look overall with this palette. This is also refillable. So that's another thing. I mean, the tray fell right out of it, right? I haven't seen at Sephora anyway, just the tray of shadows that you could purchase. I just saw this palette as a whole piece. And I do have the first palette, so I was actually kind of hoping to just buy the tray. Maybe you can do that at Gucci's website, but I didn't see that at Sephora's. I just saw the whole package deal. So anyways, this is nice. Be careful. Apparently the tray comes out, but it's definitely a nice one. Kind of backtracking before we get to the next palette, the lipstick that I'm wearing is actually from the chocolate launch from Too Faced. It's the Cocoa Bold in Hot Chocolate. This is actually a really nice lipstick. So if you're wanting something from the launch, the lipsticks are much more worth the price and worth checking out. And it's actually a lot less than the palette too. So you'll love the lippies, but the palette, like I said, unfortunately not. Now let's get to palette 5. Okay. Palette 5 comes from Natasha Denona. This is the mini bronze palette. Now, I only picked this in 5 because now we're getting to the point where there's really beautiful quality, kind of like very tight-knit rankings here. I would say bronze is a really beautiful, well-performing product from Natasha. I do like that it is a mini size for travel purposes. The only thing that I don't like about this, it is matte dominant versus shimmer. I said that in my review. I really wish she put one more shimmer in here because right now there's only one. So 2 would have been lovely. Oh, just like a missed opportunity, but that's okay. This one is beautiful. It's just very dupeable as well. I think we have a lot of shades that are similar in our collections already that are very like fall-esque and really beautiful. But if you are wanting the Natasha Denona experience, you love the quality, you want something travel friendly, you want something for fall, some kind of summer transitioning into fall palette that's not going to break the bank. This is a lovely one, but one more shimmer would have made this a lot higher on my list. This one is in palette number 5 position, but I have been really enjoying it. So I do think it's a nice one, but just so close, you know, so close. Palette number 4 is actually one from a brand I haven't tried a single thing from, so it was kind of like a really nice surprise to see something from a brand that I've never tried before. This is a collaboration with Kathleen Lights. You guys know she's also a creator on YouTube, a beauty creator. This is the Makiage and Kathleen Lights collaboration. So this is her palette. You can see it's a really beautiful reflective packaging. It's actually kind of on the like groovy disco side. Like there's like platinum boots on it and a disco ball. It does come with like stickers and stuff. I didn't know what to do with them, I'll be honest. I think they're kind of fun, but they're still in the package for me. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do. But when you open up the palette, it's actually really gorgeous. Now I'm gonna show you guys the absolute showstoppers of this palette, which are gonna be along the edges. But this is a very beautiful palette. There's lots of gorgeous, everyday friendly colors you can see. There's one shade that's sort of let me down a bit. We'll talk about it. There's also some that have some cool embossments. So these three here diagonally have a cool star embossment in it. So there's lots of really cool details in here. So right away, I don't feel lost. I'm not like, which shade should I put with which? I feel like they're all very cohesive and really easy to create looks with. There's a few people that have asked me, are the shimmers dupes for Pat McGrath's Bliss Astrals? So these along the edges. I will say they are very, very similar, but they're not the same. Pat has much more of a creaminess to hers and much more of a shimmer punch to hers. These ones still have enough shimmer. You can absolutely see them. I have them on my eyes today, but I actually had to do some more layers than I would typically do with a Pat Blitz Astral. So they're very, very close. They also have a bit more of a heaviness to them. The Pat ones are lighter than air. Definitely one of the more similar formulas to Pat's Blitz Astrals, but definitely not the exact same thing. Now, when it comes to the mattes, they're very consistent as well. They're very easy to blend and build up. But I will say there's a shimmer in here. So there's mattes, and then we sort of have her shimmers along the frame. And we also have this shimmer right here. It's really beautiful, like kind of gray green color, kind of like an army greeny gray. And this is one that actually gave me a little bit of trouble on a brush. It didn't seem to be consistent when I was actually applying it on the lid. It seemed to be a little bit patchy, and then I tried with a fingertip and that really helped a lot more. So this is one where you might need to put your finger in to get a little bit more of that even application, but this one has impressed me, I must say, and I haven't tried a single thing from Il Makiage. Absolutely nothing. They do have quite a bit of shimmer to them, but they're not quite Blitz Astrals, do you know what I mean? Like these have a bit of a frostiness quality as well that the Blitz Astrals really don't have. So it's close. Definitely very close. I do love the shimmers in this palette. It is what makes this one strong in my opinion. The shimmers are very, very nice. Do expect a little bit of fallout with them though, because they do make a mess. We're not talking about Anastasia like a mess, you know, but we're talking about definitely enough to see on the face. This is my first one and been pretty impressed with it, not gonna lie. So this is palette number 4. Now palette number 3 comes from Huda Beauty. This is her latest. This is the Lovefest palette. This is a really lovely one. I will say that the quality is very consistent. The only thing I think I said in my review of this was that I feel like the inspiration is a little bit like Chameleon. This is an Obsessions palette from her line. She does come out with these fairly frequently, I would say. They're very travel friendly. They're very, very beautiful. They're very consistent. But this color story gave me some Chameleon vibes. It's from her Wild Obsessions launch. This is one that kind of drew a little bit of some similarities to it, so I kind of docked it a little bit for creativity because it's sort of like duping herself again, right? Very stunning matte consistency with some of these shades, as well as the shimmers. These two, oh my goodness, they're so beautiful. These make the palette. Honestly, I love it. I absolutely adore this shimmer quality. Just surprising. I thought this was going to be like a mess of shimmer all over my face, considering how much of a texture these shimmers have, but they don't. There's a little bit of fallout, but it's not like the worst in the world. So I love these shades. Whew, look how stunning they are. They absolutely make the palette in my opinion. But it's just like the goes to show the formulation of these. For some reason, there's enough tack to them that the shimmer seems to stay put. It doesn't seem to fall all over the place. But I also think the mattes in this palette, being the dominant formulation, is really consistent as well, whether it's the light ones or the dark ones. So I really do like this one. And we do have kind of like a cream to powder over here, which is really lovely. So this is a very consistent palette. Definitely ranks really high on my list, and Huda Beauty does a great job, I would say, with doing that. It would have been a little higher if it had a little bit more uniqueness to it. Palette number 2. Okay, you guys are gonna freak. I know you know this one. Palette number 2 comes from Pat McGrath. This is Moonlit Seduction, and I like it. I do. I have been using this a lot more than I really thought I would. So I'm pretty excited about it. I do think, you know, because I have a little bit of critique with everything, I feel like when I review things, I do wish that these 4 Blitz Astrals had the original formulation that wasn't so flaky, because these do shine the best with her artist eye wand thing, you know, that thing that's extra, that little wand that just amplifies all of her shimmers. They do make these shine the absolute best with that formula, with that little stick. You can also use a glitter glue if you want, but it's a bit more messy. It just makes me feel happy when I use it. And I do think that the consistency of these shimmers is great. Mattes are great. We do have a little bit of some pinks. I think a lot of us were like, pink again, right? That she sort of anchored this with, kind of like this purpley pink here, and we have a bit of a rosewood kind of color up there, but it is still a very consistent, beautiful pat palette. Highly recommend you wait for her sales for these because she puts them on so often. I will, of course, let you guys know when I see the next one, but this is great. Definitely a consistent palette. Get that eye wand if you're able to really make those shimmers pop at you, but it's a great one, very consistent, and I've been using it a lot more than I thought. I've been really having a great time playing with that one. So that is palette number 2 and palette number 1. You guys might be surprised. Maybe, maybe not, but there's only 1 palette left, so if you know, I'm sure you know by now. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Nouveau palette. This is palette number 1. This came out a couple of months ago, so we do have quite a bit to talk about with this one, but I've been using this one a lot too. This is great, except there's like 2 in this palette that are supposedly not eye safe. Tell me how that makes sense. Now I know why they're doing that kind of disclaimer. They're saying because of potential staining, there is a couple shades in here that are not eye safe. But for the general consumer, like, let's think about that. I don't think the general consumer is going to read the fine print at the very bottom of the package with like the asterisk saying these aren't eye safe. This is an eyeshadow palette. They're gonna pick up and put it on the eyes. I don't know. That's my best guess, right? Eyeshadow palette, put it on the lids. And for me, I haven't noticed any staining with any of them. Maybe it's because I've primed my lids and there's a bit of a barrier, but either way, I've enjoyed this one a lot. Really appreciated the fact that she upgraded the formula, especially with the shimmers, so that the fallout has been cut back. That's something that I've really, really liked because the, you know, classic like soft glam, modern renaissance, they fall like crazy. The shimmers are like a wash of shimmer all over your upper cheek and you have to do your eyes first. But this one is so lovely. I mean, there's definitely some like fallout for sure, but not how it used to be. I was like, what is this wizardry? Like, what did you do? A little bit different, right? So I love this one. I love how there's some cool frosty looks you can do, but also some nice like light spring pastel kind of colors. We do have some nice depth with this shade. So it's great. I've been very impressed with this one. It's definitely hit number 1 for a reason. It's just been a lovely, consistent palette from Anastasia. Definitely had so much fun with that ranking. Let me know your thoughts on all of these eyeshadow palettes. I really hope these reviews were helpful. And until my next one, guys, take care and stay safe. Bye, guys.